Welcome to Rauta Portuguese edition. No, not really. But we're talking about Sepultura, which is out today with their new album Quadra. 35 years in the business. This band has been very, very active throughout the years, even with the lineup changes, even with the loss of Cavalera brothers, and still Sepultura has been there very, very much in the present day, continually changing their style, kind of renewing it, and so forth. Now, obviously, this is a disappointment for so many old school fans. Those who listened to Sepultura back in the 80s and 90s are obviously, well, quite a different people than those who are listening to Sepultura of today. Now, of course, there's fans who are, you know, liking the old material throughout the years and so forth. But now it's time to talk about their latest album, Quadra, which is 2020 release, as it says here in the kind of a coin. Now, according to press letter, Quadra means, in Portuguese, it means sport court. So basically a yard or court for different kind of sports, be it gladiator battles or, I don't know, football or something like, but basically sports. Here is the inlay of this CD, which just happens came yesterday. And I was like, okay, already this 7th of February, which just happens to be the release date, is already filled with some other reviews. So it's time for a double review today. This is a special day. I wanted to get this out fresh. Here's the booklet, which obviously includes the lyrics, also some image, and not just some cheap ass layout. This is nicely created with some nice visuals, different kind of settings for different kind of lyrics, and obviously we see the lineup here with different kind of images. Then we have the full lineup here. I don't know why they chose to choose escalator, probably in subway tunnel. Those are some weird decisions what bands sometimes do. Like, okay, let's take this band photo in the escalator. Okay, let's move to elevator. Like, why? Well, it's not my place to really answer that, but obviously it's my place to question this kind of decision. Obviously, these kind of images are next to none when we're talking about lyrics and the music and everything else within. No, not so much about lyrics, obviously. You're going to read them or not. They're there to find out. But how does Quadra play out the music of Sepultura in 2020? Now, first of all, it starts really aggressively with a classic thrash metal song, the one that is called Isolation. And if the whole album would be just like that, I would say this could be just 5 out of 5 stars an album, because it's so violent and it's so rushing forward, bashing your head in basically. I was like, what the hell? Sepultura back to their 90s or even 80s kind of stuff. Unfortunately not. Isolation starts the album fine and could be very well the best track of the album, but it's not there to kind of define the whole album when it comes to the actual style. Now, the good side is this album is very, very diverse. It's a kind of a multitude of tracks which just span over different kind of ideas. There are orchestrations, there are female vocals, there are acoustic guitar parts, and then there are of course these kind of a thrash anthem kind of things, and something in between. But it's clear that when these guys are as old as they are, they don't have the same kind of passion and kind of attempt to do and prove themselves as what they were doing when they're 20s and 30s and so forth. So at the same time, this is kind of like daddy kind of thrash. It's way more slower, way more kind of a thinking man's thrash, as opposed to what the guys were doing back in the 80s and 90s. Now, this is not to say that the album is bad, because it's not. In fact, I kind of like it quite a bit, at least more than I was expecting. Call me a pessimistic in this sense, but I haven't been enjoying that much Sepultura in the 2000 something, so I was not expecting Quadra to hit me with the force that it actually did. but it's not flawless. I still think there are elements. Sometimes they are more of the technical nature, like, hey, let's put some technical riffing here because it's so fun to play. Is it fun to listen? Not exactly the same way as it might be to the guitar player themselves. Now, what I'm trying to say here is that it's so diverse that it sometimes goes off tracks. It's kind of goes off road, and me personally, I feel like maybe some parts just should have kind of like left off. Maybe include them in kind of a B-side singles or bonus material or whatever. But they are there to kind of a distract. Then the other side is that obviously with this diversity, the album is way more interesting than just copy-pasting isolation kind of ideas and songs like 11 in a row. Now, all this diversity can be, as such, a kind of a two-way road. You're gonna enjoy that there are no two similar tracks, and it's gonna keep this album fresh all over again. You're gonna just go through this interesting trip, if you will, and find out that it's full of those kind of places or points of interest through the course, which is then again nice. But like I said, some of those tracks or parts of those tracks are not that interesting, which in my opinion separates this from being good than being great. Now, the production is just top notch, done by Jens Bogren from Sweden, the Fascination Street studio. Has gotten a lot of fame for many metal albums, and for a reason. He knows how to make albums sound crispy, distinctive, clear, and yet at the same time powerful, and not just some sterile, plastic kind of production. He totally seems to understand what Sepultura is doing. So all those different instruments like bass and guitars and drums, blah blah blah, they all sound like interest, and you can just basically focus on your hearing on the bass guitar, and it's like, okay, it seems to be going nicely. And same kind of words could be applied to any kind of instrument here, as well as vocals. Now, sometimes these kind of high-end studio stuff just gets making everything kind of a flat and uninteresting. Like, okay, this sounds powerful, but totally lacking the dynamics and organic feeling. But here, I think it's very close to perfection. Now, obviously, it's a matter of taste what is perfect metal sound for whatever given album. So obviously, this is just my opinion, but I think in so many ways the production is just brilliant here. Now, some of those songs are close to being brilliant, Isolation being one of them. But like I said, all of the songs are not, made from the same tree or carved from the same stone, which then again makes this a little bit kind of hard to like all the way fully. That is just me saying this. Obviously, some of you will just love this album because it's so clearly a modern thrash metal album. It's kind of a, nodding back to their Sepultura roots, but at the same time, it's also kind of a modern Sepultura, and it's mixing and stirring up all those elements in a way that it actually makes a lot of sense. Now, I think this album could have been better. Let's make no mistake about it. There are some elements which I'm not too happy about it. But then again, they are not too weak or annoying or anything like that to ruin the feeling or ruin the album. So it's just mostly good. Definitely good album. And at worst, well, it's still decent. So I kind of have to say I enjoy Quadra quite a bit. But it doesn't give me the same vibes such as albums like Arise or Beneath the Remains. And obviously, how could it be? This is, after all, so much newer album. You will find elements which are like old Sepultura. You will find ideas which might remember you like albums such as Roots or KSAD, but it's mostly modern Sepultura. But everything from vocals to production and the guitar work, drums, bass, etc., they have their place, and as such, I think this is wonderfully crafted album. It could be better, as always. No album couldn't be better, but it's still good. So be sure to check out Quadra. It's already out today, and if you're a fan, you probably already have this. So my words are pretty much useless to you. But in case not, be sure to check out the sample. This is out through Nuclear Blast, and Sepultura is at the moment doing some interviews and stuff, so you will probably find them online. Will there be one on Rauta? Who knows? Maybe someday. But until that, go check out your Sepultura, and I hope you like it.